Well, we are live again, and we better double check Facebook right off the bat. Of course, last week, Facebook let us, it kind of tricked us. It let us go live, and everything was great for like, we got through Sadow's interview. It was like 30, 40 minutes, then Facebook went haywire.
Yeah, I mean, they pushed us all over to YouTube, and was nothing there. We were pleasantly surprised at the quantity of people
Yeah.
that went on over to YouTube and started watching there. And we thank everybody for jumping over there and watching. I mean, that was refreshing.
Yeah, it was. And I was surprised. I think we had, 56, maybe 60 people that came on over and were keeping up with us. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. So it actually wasn't me. It was a Facebook glitch, right? So I wasn't in Facebook jail, and they wouldn't cut me off. It was actually just a glitch.
Well, I don't know about that. It could have been you. If I got to place the blame on anybody, I can't place it on me. I've got to place it on you. But I honestly, I think it was just a Facebook glitch. But I'm going to check our audio while we're sitting here for a second.
Yeah. Well, hey, last show, for those of you just joining in, I mean, we had Jeff Sadow that came on as a guest, and he was primarily talking about Bossier City and all of their debt. And interestingly, I there was a debt conversation today in the Bossier City Council, was there not?
Well, there was an attempt to have a debt conversation, and I'm not going to any say who it was, but King David apparently doesn't like any type of debt conversation to be had in those city council chambers.
Yeah, I mean, rumor has it that he, true to form, he lost it. I mean, a point of order was, affected out of him. Was it
Oh,
that not correct?
oh yeah, but I got to give we'll save it as a surprise, but I got to give the guest speaker that was at the city council meeting credit because he wasn't having any of it either. So they were doing a little tit for tat.
Oh, see, I hadn't even got to see it, so this is going to be a surprise for me as well too.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. What else have we got on tap?
Well, we were covering last show, and I'm covering that because with our technical difficulties last show, I don't know what people know that we covered and what we didn't. I mean, because there's probably some of our Facebook viewers that I know they didn't come over and they didn't get to see what we were talking about, but we also, I think we went through the constitutional amendments that are going to be on your ballot here coming up. We went through all of them and did the best we could to kind of
Mm-hmm.
score them. I mean, bottom line is there's no consistency to where everybody stands on the constitutional amendments. And they're not really difficult ones, I don't think.
Not,
So
not, not really. And some of them, I guess, like Danny McCormick said, sometimes he thinks it's best if you don't know what the amendment's about, just vote no. And so again, if you read up on it and you're still not sure, you get in the voting booth and you're still not sure, our suggestion is follow Danny McCormick's advice and just vote no, because it takes a lot to remove an amendment to the Constitution. So anyway, but I did post their, well, it's the PAR guide, so we got to give them credit, of course, and then did post what we had checked off, I believe, and also I did post the show in its entirety. So I took the two segments, that we had initially on Facebook before Facebook cut us off or had the glitch or whatever it was. And I did combine those and posted it back on Facebook. So the entire show is on Facebook if you want to go back and watch it from last week.
good job on that. Just, like you always compliment me on building notes for the show today, and that show was all on you. There's a lot of work that you do when we have problems like that, putting the shows together. I mean, and thank you for doing that, and thank you for working on the notes today. I mean,
Yeah, I
credit
actually
credit goes to you. You always giving me credit. Credit goes to you.
Yeah, I actually did a few notes today, so we'll see how that turns out. It could be dangerous. All right, we've got about 52 people watching, folks. Y'all know the drill. We're going to do our countdown here in just a second, be about 2.5 or 3 minutes. But go ahead and tag your friends, share the show out, do all that sort of stuff. We've got some more information on the library and the takeover by the Bossier Parish Police Jury of the library itself, and they've taken over some more stuff, and well, Butch Ford's name is in it again. We'll have the King David and versus Colonel Crockett video from the city council meeting, and some new Cypress District information that could prove to be very interesting, and I don't know, whatever else we can talk about.
Well, hey. Seriously though, Rex,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering, did you hear about that lady before we go to the break? Did you hear about that lady that she went to go get in her car and go to the grocery store and she almost got mugged? Did you hear
Well,
about it?
I kind of heard about it, but I think we have some
It's on
video of it.
video.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's on Twitter, so it must be true because, well, Elon's taken over Twitter, so it's got to be true.
got to be true.
Yeah,
Let's play it for everybody because not everybody may not have seen this.
Yeah, all right, let's see what happens here. Well, you got to be careful these days.
Oh my gosh!
Wait, let's watch that one more time. Is that Hunter Biden?
She did everything she could to close the door. Good grief.
You know, between that and that whole situation with Pelosi's husband and all, I mean, the world's just gone mad. And Hunter Biden, that dude gets away with anything, apparently. So.
Oh, good grief. All right, let's go to break.
All right, we'll be right back, folks. Go grab you a stiff drink, make you some popcorn. You know the drill. Tag your friends, share it out to your friends, all that kind of good stuff. We got library on tap. We got, what else? A police jury on tap, and all kinds of stuff. We'll be right back. If I can hit the right button. Here we go.
You know, they feel helpless. They don't feel heard. They have nowhere to turn.
In all honesty, you know, we try to lay low a little bit because of the fear that we would not be able to camp there.
And I titled it "A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys."
Hello, everybody. I don't think I've ever done a video before on here, but yeah, I wanted to tell y'all what frustrates me a little bit about permits.
The cockroach of the week is, drumroll please, Allie Feaster Smith.
We can't be apathetic about what's going on in our state. We have to all pull up our bootstraps and get on top of this. So you're right. There's a problem out there. I mean, and man, you can see it everywhere.
Well, look, we have allowed government to become our wherewithal to everything.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
You're about to be killed by a Zamboni, or you're gonna die in 5 minutes.
This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by David B. Womack for all your contracting and construction needs. The Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 23 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Michael Ferris. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go.
Hey, Speaking of fishing, the bass are beginning to gorge themselves on shad. We're going to turn this into a fishing show tonight, folks.
Not a fishing show. Are you serious?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, let me show you what I was doing Sunday.
Well, let's see.
Leaning on a few.
Okay. Now I gotta ask. It wasn't November 1st when you jacked that
Swing
jaw.
and a hit.
But what were you throwing to get down through that mess? I mean, that looked like a carpet of stuff.
Well, that's the infamous giant salvinia. But I was throwing the same bait that I probably throw 60 or 70% of my casts. It was actually a frog. They were coming up through the salvinia, blowing up and eating a frog. But you got to remember, the frog doesn't always represent a frog to them. So most of the time, it actually represents like an injured bait fish or something like that on the surface. And they were running the shad, wolf packing the shad. So
I got you.
Anyway.
Well, good for you to get out on the water and try out the new batteries. I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah, hey, I sound like a commercial for lithium batteries, but I'm telling you guys, lithium is where it's at.
Hey, now it may be overkill, but as funny as your Hunter Biden video was, did you know that Nancy Pelosi and Donald Trump had to sit down to talk about which one was more criminal?
You got to be kidding me. Surely not.
I kid you not. I kid you. Share my screen and I'll show it to you. There's video.
All right, let's see if we can get that video. Oh, hey, look, there's Donnie.
There he is. Let's listen to what their conversation was.
Clothes on. That's criminal.
Hang on.
Bing, bong, bong, bing, bing. Who are you calling a criminal? I'm no criminal. Not now. But if you're going to take a physical, you're going to have to take your clothes off. And if you take your clothes off, that's criminal. Wait a minute. See, you take your clothes off, that would be first-degree ugliness with malice aforethought and attempt to cause blindness.
Well, that took us back in time a little bit.
I don't know. We all need a little humor every now and then to break the monotony. And I mean, look, some of these people making these memes, I love it.
I think sometimes that there is a meme factory somewhere, and there's a bunch of, no offense to anybody of Asian descent, but there's a bunch of Chinamen or whatever just cranking out these memes from some meme factory and sending them out there into cyberspace.
I mean, you just gotta laugh at some of this crap sometimes because it's so stupid, the things that are going on in the world. I mean, anyway, I could stay all day long talking about that, but we got serious stuff to talk about. We got to get back to the boring stuff that makes people mad and ornery and, that they don't laugh about.
Oh, yeah. There's plenty of stuff to talk about. And, of course, I'm probably going to get on my soapbox for just a few minutes with the Cypress District stuff. But anyway, so we got a bunch of people watching now. We cranked up to about 76 people. We appreciate everybody that's watching and commenting if you dare to comment. Hey, speaking of daring, folks, if y'all were watching last week and didn't realize what happened, or weren't watching last week and wondering what's going on, last week about, I guess it was 30, 40 minutes into the show, we had done a really good guest segment with Jeff Sadow, and Facebook just kind of slowly died out. And did you know that Facebook still, I couldn't kill the live stream, even though it wasn't there. I couldn't kill it. Facebook continued to think it was live, even though it wasn't, for like 8 hours.
Wow.
It was crazy. Now, our YouTube feed was fine. And like we said earlier in the show, we appreciate everybody that jumped over onto the YouTube, stream with us to continue watching.
Imagine that. Us droning on for 8 hours about Tommy Chandler. Could you imagine?
I can't imagine anybody wanting to listen to anything about Tommy Chandler for that long, but it would be entertaining because he's just full of entertainment.
No doubt, no doubt. In fact, he provided even more entertainment this week. And look, I got a personal privilege here.
No.
To the very dear friend that called me 3 times today, and every time they called, I was not able to take their call. And usually when they call me, and they call me every day before the show, and this is what they ask me, they say, "Are you going to beat up on my dear friend Tommy Chandler today?" And I will tell them, I'll say, "Yes or no, we're gonna beat up on him today or not." Well, since I wasn't able to take your call to my dear friend, no, we're not gonna beat up on Tommy today. His day is next week. It's
Yeah,
not this week, it's next week.
it's next week. We're focused on the police jury in the library and a little bit of the city council. Hey, it wasn't the same friend, and I won't mention any names. Mutual friend that got mad at me and took his toys home about a week and a half ago, was it?
Oh,
No, that's
no.
right.
He's
He
still
doesn't.
your he's still your friend. He's
Oh,
just mad
okay.
at you for the time being.
It's okay. We can be mad at each other for a while. I still love him, sort of. But anyway, all right. Let's actually get into the news part. All right. The watching part of it. Anyway. So,
Well,
what shall we hit first?
we went over some proton mail and we talked about, or we tried to in the last show. So we got a little bit of cleaning up to do. So we had some previous proton mail pertaining to the police department, and there may be a little bit of crow eating in there that we're going to have to, not you, me specifically, but again, we're going to have to postpone it another show because we've got some public information requests in.
Right.
And we hadn't got a response yet to confirm or deny the accuracy. I mean, so not going to eat that crow unless we have to.
At least put it off as long as you can. Like when
That's right.
Like when your parents tell you eat all the food on your plate, and you try to put it off as long as you can. So
that's right.
I'll have to come up with a special graphic though, or something if you do have to eat some crow. I'll have to think about that for a minute.
Now we had mentioned a proton mail that we got that was critical of us that said, why have we not covered anything to do with the school board race that's happening in, South Bossier Parish?
Right.
And we started trying to address that during the last show, and we started having those technical difficulties, and I don't know exactly where it is, and to that point, yeah, they're right. We haven't really addressed that race at all, any way, shape, form, or fashion. And, you know, I'm going to say, between Eric Faulting and, Xandra Ashley, I think the demographics work against Miss Ashley. I don't know that, I, I, I don't know. Maybe she can prevail, maybe she can't, but I really don't know that there's a path there. And
and I would tend to agree, and we're speaking from, both of our political experience before anybody calls us racist or anything like that. The math doesn't lie. And so she does have an uphill battle, not, because she's doesn't know the topics of the school board and all that. Xandra's very, very articulate and definitely able to get her point across. There's no doubt about that. As a matter of fact, I would probably get my hat handed to me in a debate with her. But the demographics are the demographics. So she does have an uphill battle. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's leaning towards probably Faulting.
Yeah. And, last show, as things fell apart, we did something that we normally, or we haven't done to this point. We've talked about it, you and I, about having kind of a open viewer. If you want to call in, hey, you can call in. Anybody watching. Granted, any politician can come on the show anytime they want, whether they like us or not, or hate us, whatever. David Montgomery, he wants to come in and he wants to counter, what the good professor said last show. He's more than welcome to come on this show, and we'll treat him with respect. And we're not, if we disagree with him, we're going to tell him. But we're conservative, the most liberal person, in the world. If they want to come on the show, we're going to respect them. But to that point, we opened up the lines, and the only person that came on the show was Ashley Law.
Yeah.
And
she took the challenge and she came on live completely. I mean, we don't really script anything. We have notes, but we don't script anything. But she came on completely unscripted, so to speak. And hey, she did a good job. She had a lot of good points and a lot of information to share on this library business.
Now, Rex, did you just pull up a quote? Did you pull that up again? I was talking.
The one that says, I'm okay with the battle?
Yeah, pull that up.
Yeah. Oh, look,
okay.
It's a school board candidate.
Well, we were just talking. Obviously, you were watching. So, Ashley, or what exactly are you saying? Are you saying you want to come on? You want to come on the show?
Yeah, we can send the call-in number to you, or if you want to come on with video too, we can send the link to you, or you can just call in if you want. Either way, but if you want to come on, that's not a problem.
Oh, Jimmy Richardson, that's good. Tangle Tough Tuesday, I like that one.
Yeah. I'd make a mess of it all. A big backlash.
Tangle Tough Tuesday.
Yeah, I am, because I felt it was necessary to speak for myself. Well, let's see how. I don't think I have Xander's phone number.
I don't either. Let me look up on Facebook, and I will. I will message her the link to the show. How about that?
Okay, yeah. Xander, let us know if you would rather come on with video and audio, or just call in. Either way is fine with us. So this will be fun. Especially because I hadn't been paying close attention to the school board, because we've been watching the city council and, of course, the Cypress district, now the police jury. She said she's leaving the Elm Grove game. Okay, well, we can ramble on for a little bit. So just shoot us a text message, or, well, you can't really text the link. Just shoot us a Facebook message and let us know, and then we'll make sure you get on. That'll be cool.
I just looked her up, and I shot her the link.
Perfect.
So she's got it. So anyway, we'll continue on with the show, and if she comes in, hey, you know what? I got an idea.
What's that?
We need to. Hey, what does everybody think? There's 80-something people watching. Xandra Ashley is sitting here. She just commented in the thing and said she's willing to come on the show. What about Eric Faulting?
Yeah. Paging Eric Faulting. He was watching last week or week before last.
Yeah. Look, he should come on the show while she's on the show. I mean, let's do an ad lib debate.
Yeah.
Right now.
That would be fun.
That would.
Let's see. We'll add Xandra to the topics at hand here. So that'll be fun.
Y'all watching, tag Eric Faulting to message us. We'll send him the link. And Xandra just said it would be fair to invite both on the show. Yeah. So let's tag him. Let's see if he'll come on the show, and let's get them both on. And I don't know. We can ad lib this thing. We'll be fair to both.
Yeah, it's live. So, and look, for those of you that are watching, be thinking of some questions or comments that you want to ask Xandra, or ask Eric if he comes on too, about the school board race. So yeah, that'll be interesting. All right. So while we're waiting on Xandra to get to where she can safely hit the link and come on in, what else shall we talk about? Shall we move into some of the city council stuff?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get to Bossier City, and let's see because I'm dying to hear what would affect a point of order. It's always entertainment when King David, throws out a point of order. It had to be good, and I didn't get to see it today, so I'm dying to see what his point of order was.
Well, I was actually watching it and thought, this is going to be another one of those, boring city council meetings, but sure as gold, it was not. So let me switch screens over here. I think this will be the right button. Yeah. And, you can see our notes. Who cares? So the first thing that I want to point out, though, is one of the first orders of business that they did. There was an agenda item for appointing Mike Lombardino, from the city council race, appointing him to the MPC, and I guess they decided not to. So let's watch that and see what happened with that.
Make a motion on under new business number 24, delete.
Mr. Montgomery, did you vote on that last item?
Thought I did.
Motion carries. Okay, so you want to delete new business number 24?
Yeah, I don't have it. I'm pretty sure that's it.
Yes, sir.
Second. Okay. Any comments, council? Anyone would like to speak on this item number 24, recommendation for deletion?
Now,
Yes, please, Councilor Brooke.
did you notice something about that? Do you remember?
Tell me.
And maybe I just don't remember, so refresh my memory and folks in the audience. Was there any discussion at any other city council meetings about putting Mike on the MPC?
Not that I recall hearing.
Okay, so follow my little bouncing ball here. So I think this was introduced or sponsored or whatever you call it by Tommy Chandler. They get it on the agenda. Then King David makes a motion to have it deleted from the agenda. And there is zero discussion about it. Like nothing. Like nobody even asked, oh, well, is there a particular reason he doesn't want to be appointed? Or like crickets, nothing. Like it's almost like they all knew what was going on.
So what are you saying? I mean, what was the reason of why not to hear it? What was the reason to take it off the agenda?
That's the point. We don't know.
Oh, wait a minute.
But how did they know?
You're saying that the pre-meeting that they all have before the council meeting, that maybe they all talked about, hey, we're going to cut this off the agenda? They talked about it and discussed it?
It's a theory. I mean, how else? I mean, you're telling me that literally none of the rest of the commissioners had a question about that at all? And not that it's a big deal. It's really not. But none of them had a question about that at all?
Well, I
find that hard to believe.
I think if you're, Mr. Lombardino, I suspect you probably want to know.
I don't know. And look, maybe he requested, maybe he decided that he didn't want to serve. And that's fine too. Like I said, that's not the issue. It's the issue that it was like crickets. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist. Maybe I need to put my tinfoil hat on.
Maybe it's not Tommy Chandler's appointment to make. Maybe it's the council's appointment to make, and Tommy can go pound sand.
Maybe it's as simple as that. All right, let's move forward to the next point, which is where the reading of the ordinance to adopt the operating and capital budget, and we'll just kind of move through some of this.
Adopt the operating and capital budgets for 2023.
So moved.
Second.
And
Motion
silence.
made by Mr. Montgomery, second Mr. Smith. Any discussion on this item? And the floor is open for comments. Discussion vote, council.
And 3. Oh, there we go. We have a comment.
Yes, sir. Okay. Council, hold your vote.
Hold the horses.
Look
who it is.
Address, please.
Sure, David Crockett, 653 Dumaine Drive, North Bossier City. I don't live in Bossier City. I do want to comment, though. I haven't seen anything published, and I think that probably the 2021 state accounting or review of the Bossier budget is probably out, and I'm going to go review it. But I haven't seen anybody talk about or raise, whether the bonds have been funded, what's the total debt for Bossier City. I find it interesting that we're funding all these budget items without going through and talking to the public about the total debt per capita and the things that are affecting Bossier City.
Let me pause it right there. Which city councilman, for everybody watching, which city councilman do you think that triggered when he mentioned the debt?
I got a pretty good idea, and he has been known to drive a Zamboni before.
Yes, he has. All right, let's continue on.
Now, I've been a little bit criticized by one of the gentlemen at the table, for being involved because I don't live in Bossier City and don't vote here. But I pay my taxes here, I do all my shopping in Bossier City, and I will not go anywhere else unless I have to go somewhere else. And I pay my water here, and I do wish that there was more discussion on these things, a little bit more public information. I've been asking for that for 2 years since I've been here. I find it interesting when some of the councilmen try to save money in the council meetings that they'll get shot down, shouted down.
Sir,
And
as a point of order, Mr. Darby.
Is it my fault?
There it is.
I'm addressing this to you, Mr. President, that I wish there was more public debate, and when somebody has a criticism or tries to...
This is the point we want to make, point of order. If you're going to talk about the item,
right,
that's germane.
Okay, well, I would like to see more public discussion, and I think that is germane. I think the total debt per capita, the total debt per household from Bossier City to fund all these things ought to be more of a public discussion. I don't find it in the paper. I don't find it in the council meetings. I can't believe that we don't.
Again, Mr. Darby, I will ask that the man is not speaking to the agenda item.
Let me ask you, Mr. President, is the total debt related to...
Let me pause right there for a second. This is
Whoa.
great. He just literally is completely, coming across as completely ignoring King David, and King David can't stand it.
No, he can't take it. He's losing it.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask y'all, do you think, for those of you that are watching this, and, you probably didn't see it earlier while they were broadcasting live, but anyway, do y'all think he is asking legitimate questions? And yeah, he's throwing a few jabs in, but it's fairly relevant to the topic. I mean, they're discussing approving the operating and capital outlay budget.
I mean, look, if you're talking about the budgets of the city of Bossier, how the heck is the debt not relevant? How is that not germane to the subject? I mean, I would love to hear the...
Don't worry, King David has an explanation for that.
Oh, I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
Here we go.
Oh, wait a minute. No. Wait a minute. Let me guess. He deferred to his co-driver. City attorney.
Yeah. Well, he did get dragged into it too. So here we go.
Okay.
The budget items, the amount of that we're spending. So see, what happens is that you find that someone shouts down people because they raise fiscally conservative issues, which is what the budget is. I have been shouted down about that once before, and I think you're very gracious. But my point, and I'm not going to drag this on and on, but I think more information needs to be out for the public. I think change orders, things that are in this budget are costing the city a lot of money, and if we don't do good estimates and things, it hurts Bossier City. So I appreciate it.
One thing I'm going to say is that we've had workshops, and I don't think you were present, but we've had them prior to this, more than one. So if you were going to address the budget and the items on the budget, that would have been the time to do that.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there. What is wrong with the statement that Darby just made?
Because that is the way that local governments, not just the city of Bossier in these workshops, but it's the way that police juries and other bodies, they utilize that to get around daylight for the public. That's the way they do it. They do it in workshops, and we're going to show it, I think, when we cover the police jury here in a little bit, because they are the kings of committee meetings and all that to get business done. That way they can just walk into the council meeting or the police jury meeting and rubber stamp things, and there won't be a debate that's publicized to where you folks out there at home at night can see it. Now, their argument is that, well, you could have came to the meetings. You have the opportunity, they're scheduled, and you got the opportunity to come. But and this is what came first, the chicken or the egg. Everybody's got lives, everybody's got, jobs to do. Oh, maybe we should have the meetings during the day, more people could come, or we have them in the evening and more people can come. But then the rub on it is yeah, and every one of the councilmen and the police jurymen would make this argument. Yeah, okay, well, we'll have the meetings at 7 o'clock, and you know how many people will come? The same amount of people that'll come if it's at 3 o'clock during the day.
Right.
The problem's not these folks up here, sitting behind these desks making these decisions. The truth of the matter is it's each and every one of us that don't take the time to go to all these meetings. We want to just sit back and let these people handle it and do it. And then we're all right there and we want to see the train wreck when it happens.
Well, look,
and ask, how did this happen?
We've been accused of only pointing out the bad stuff and all that. And that's true. Our tagline is keeping an eye out on Bossier. I mean, we mean that politically. We do highlight every now and then something that's positive, but if we did just a fluff show, nobody would show up. It'd be an echo chamber between you and I, and we wouldn't have to have live software and all this other stuff that we do to have this. People want to see the train wreck, and they want to keep an eye out, which is literally why we started this, on our government officials. And Barry Butler brought it up that the meetings are not well publicized. They're not as well publicized as the regular meetings. They're to their credit, they do publicize them, but they don't record the meetings. There aren't. I don't think. I'll double check here in a minute. I don't think there are any minutes to those meetings, anything like that. So, they can go in there and eat ham sandwiches.
Yeah, you're right, and I think maybe all of these meetings, they all should be recorded. They should all be publicized. They should all be, it's not that hard with technology the way that it is today. They should all be done that way.
Yeah, it literally doesn't cost them anything extra.
Hey, a real quick housekeeping thing right now, real quick. I texted both or messaged on Facebook the Eric Faulting for School Board and Eric Faulting individually. I messaged both of him that Zandra Ashley is coming on here in a minute. We want him to come on the show and send him the link. I've got no response yet, so we'll still give it more time.
Let's keep going. Yeah, and he may have some school function or something like that, but we'll see. Okay, so let's keep going.
And you could have asked anything you wanted to ask. We have a director of finance available to any person, any taxpayer. So at this point, your concerns may be valid, but it's a little bit too late because the fact that we've opened the door for public input many times before we got to this point.
Yeah, well, let me just say, Mr. President, I find it very interesting that you can watch city council after city council, but you don't see councilmen trying to shut people down from their 3 minutes that I have a right in your charter to make comments.
Yes, I appreciate your feedback on that, and we try to do the best we can, showing every person the same respect that they deserve.
Frankly, Mr. President, I don't really see that.
Yeah.
And I don't even see it on the council. After a couple of meetings ago, I don't see it on the council.
We strive to do that, but sometimes people have passionate issues, and the issues become at this podium, passionate. And that happens sometimes. It's a personality thing. It's the way we're built. But we're not doing anything egregious to anybody. We try to avoid that.
I want to pause it right there again for a second and go back to my point from a minute ago. The other thing that Darby said was you could have come to the workshop and made those comments. I hate to tell you, Darby, but that is an open meeting, and he has 3 minutes to talk about that topic. He honestly doesn't have to even be close to the topic, just relatively close.
I'm going to give you another example. It's just like Mayor Cedric Glover, and I call him the mayor, when he made the argument about the amendment to the port bill, and Alan Seaball was making the argument that his argument was not proper to be being made at that time. Well, look, the way debate goes, and the way it was his choice. If he wanted to make the argument and make the debate at that time, that was his choice. He could do it. He's got the right to do it. The same as the colonel's got the right to get up and make the point. Now, he didn't have to come to the meeting. He didn't have to come to any of those prior workshop meetings to form or have the opinion or an informed opinion already that he has. He didn't have to come to those.
Hint for Darby. The city council meeting itself is not a rubber stamp session. That's literally why the comment period is there, why the sunshine laws are written, and all that. It's for public discussion. The public discussion is not to be had at the workshop. It's the public meeting. All right. And speaking of red herrings that, your buddy Seabiscuit was trying to throw out to Glover in that meeting, we're fixing to see probably the biggest red herring ever get thrown out by none other than King David.
Well, I believe that a general comment, it does not have, you just combine how many, 30, 40 items, I don't know how many it is, and you say, well, let's talk about it all in general. But if I mention something about a budget that it's not relative to what you're spending, and a councilman tries to shot me down, Mr. President, it's your job to defend me as a public speaker.
No one tried to impede your comment.
Right.
You have to make it germane to that item.
Right.
That's
Well,
on the
my
agenda.
personal last comment is that until we have term limits in this council, we're going to have people shouted down.
I cannot believe we're allowed.
Boom. And he should have just dropped the mic and turned around and walked off. But let me ask everybody watching this. Do y'all think King David was trying to impede his comments once he mentioned the magic word debt? Who votes yes that King David was definitely trying to impede his commentary?
Look, that's what he lives by. I mean, I'm not sure that King David knows any other parliamentary procedure, but he dang sure knows throwing out point of order. He's got that one down pat, and he always uses it to shut down somebody's commentary on a subject that he doesn't want to discuss or he disagrees with. And he's got a 50-50 chance. Well, no, okay, that's not fair. It's not a 50-50 chance. It's probably an 80-20 chance that the chair is going to agree with him and shut whoever's speaking down based off of his point of order.
Yeah, and because Colonel Crockett was right that it's the city councilman's, and specifically Darby as the president, it's his job to look out for the citizens first, not his fellow councilmen, but they all take it as basically the other way. And I'm going to show you how hypocritical that is. At the end of this, there's another issue that we'll show. And you're going to see a little bit of hypocrisy on this from Darby's end. All right, let's continue on because we want to get to the big red herrings flopping around.
Man, now, to sit here and now talk about...
Now you're talking about something totally different now. So I appreciate your coming forward.
Okay.
We're going to have to move on to the next item.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right.
Phyllis, for the record, Mr. Darby, I'd like to ask the clerk, would you please publish at some point, and anyone that is welcome to come to the council chambers, and see how long this budget's been worked on and how many times it's been presented, and the entire time schedule of the process that we...
Notice he didn't mention one word about debt. What did he do? He immediately switched to, oh my goodness, we have worked on this so hard and so long. And Colonel Crockett didn't say anything about the amount of time that was worked on or how much effort it was put into it or not. He didn't say any of that. And I'd like to acknowledge that Mr. David Crockett is in the comments now. So he says, we both have David pegged. You, sir, have David pegged. And you, sir, knew where to rile him up with your commentary. So that was great.
Yeah, good job to the Colonel. And, there needs to be more folks that get up there and speak and voice their opinion. The councilmen and police jurymen and the elected officials, they may not listen to you. They may ignore you, but exercising your right to get up and speak, hat tip to him.
Yeah.
Hat tip to him.
Let's continue on. It gets better.
Went through, because obviously some people are not aware of the amount of effort and work that went into this budget.
Oh, cry me a river.
Yeah.
And irrelevant terms that are being thrown out there because someone writes articles and so forth that have nothing, absolutely zero.
Yeah, he had to bring Jeff into it, drag Jeff into it. So you hit him in the right soft spot there.
he's calling Jeff Sadow out.
Irrelevant terms. I don't even know what they mean. David, it's
Wait a
obvious
minute.
you don't know what debt means.
Look, he said irrelevant. I thought he said he was an educated man.
Oh,
Keep
wait.
talking about King David.
He's going to remind us how educated he is again here in just a moment.
Does he not realize that he's going up against a guy with a PhD?
Apparently not. He's just worried about how much time it took him. To come up with the budget.
Look, Rex, you may not realize this, but I got a PhD as well.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that?
I did not.
I have been a pothole digger my whole life. I know.
Dirty fingernails and all.
Yeah, you daggone right. I mean, I know what it's like. I know. But I don't know that King David, he ain't got no PhD. He ain't got it.
He doesn't have anybody up there to shut him up. That's the problem. I mean, the closest is Brian Hammond's.
That's right. Where is David Jones? Where is David Jones when you need him? Where is David Jones? Because David Jones would shut, David Montgomery down. He did.
I'm pretty sure he would too. All right, let's continue on.
To do with our budget process. So it's terms actually that I've never heard before. And I actually went to school and became a certified public accountant. And in these terms that are being thrown around, absolutely or ridiculous.
It's the term debt. D-E-B-T. Debt. It's not a ridiculous term. You should know it as a trained, certified public accountant, so you can count all your beans you're making off extra insurance from all the city contracts.
That's not what has him triggered. It's not the debt terminology. It's term limits.
Yeah, I forgot that last dig. You're right, Duke.
That's what triggered him. A guy that's been in there for almost 2 decades and responsible for Bossier having the debt that they have, according to our PhD, Jeffrey Sadow. I mean, he's one of the graybeards. He's one of the guys that affected all that debt, right?
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. You were on to something when the colonel got his last little knife wound in there about the term limits.
But look, Tommy the Chandler, or Tahoe Tommy, he can bring an appointment to the MPC and they all agree to take it off the board before the meeting. But where is him in term limits? I mean, I could probably pull up the post real quick. I've got it saved of where he said we need fresh blood in Bossier City because you get old, it breeds corruption and things like that or whatever. We need term limits, and when he's mayor, we'll have it. But yet he's not bringing it. He's not bringing a call for term limits. He's not even bringing a call for the Charter Commission.
Look, he's turned his back. He's turned his back on the Charter Commission, on term limits, on auditing, all that, just like he turned his back on Shane Cheatham, and we can just keep going right on down the list. 2 police chiefs now. I mean, you can't trust Tommy any further than you can throw him. That's the real point right there. All right, let's continue on for a minute before I say something really mean.
For lack of a better term. And, that's my take on it. But I would like for everyone, for public record, to know the timeline, when it was published, the amount of work that went into this budget. And I want to thank everybody on this council because I know each of you, the mayor, Angela, Miss Williamson, everyone that was involved in this process. Thank you.
Red herrings flopping everywhere. The work and the time and the effort that we put into it. And not once did David Crockett say anything about time, effort, or amount of work. He asked mostly about the debt. And notice King David can't even say the word because if he knows if he says it, then we've got the sound bite and we will play it over and over and over.
But here's the deal. Okay. So, this debt thing with the city of Bossier.
Right.
So either he's right or he's wrong. And I didn't say this with Jeff Sadow. But here's what I was thinking, Rex. I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
All right.
King David, CPA, right? So you know what he's thinking? I think what he's thinking is that, well, the city of Bossier has a good tax base. They have, a lot of revenue, dependable revenue, consistent revenue. So, you know what? If we can get loans, and we can get money for projects, let's get all the loans that we can at cheap interest rates, and let's build all these projects, and let's make the quality of life in Bossier exceptional, and we'll just have it all on, on loans. And we got this revenue stream. And I mean, look, the creditors wouldn't give us these loans if we didn't have a good revenue stream, right?
Well,
So
but look, I
let's
don't
do it.
disagree with you, and
Isn't that the American way?
but why didn't he just say that? Why didn't he give a King David explanation of debt, and that in his view, a certain amount of debt is acceptable and okay?
Exactly.
If he would just do that, he would shut all of us up.
Exactly, but he's too damn arrogant to bring himself down to a level to have to give an explanation to all the peons out there, in which all of y'all.
Oh, that's right. He's an educated CPA. He keeps reminding us now 2 or 3 meetings.
Who's not a PhD, who's above all of the 100+ people like watching this show. He can't give none of you an explanation. It's below him to have to bring it down to earth for all of you. He can't do it.
Let me give him a piece of advice, which he'll never take. That way, we can keep on making fun of him. King David, if you would just explain debt to all of us peons out here and how some debt is useful, we would literally have nothing else to talk about with the debt issue, and you would shut Jeff Sadow down. Some people may still disagree with it, but at least you get your point of view across. But Duke, you're right. King David is too arrogant, and I would argue stupid, to actually do that.
I'm not going to say that he's stupid. I'm not going to say that at all, because arguably he's gotten his way for years now. I mean, he basically has been able to bulldog whatever it is he wants. And I'm going to jump out there and I'm going to say he has bulldogged Manchac into, and I'm going to say that ultimately I think it's going to come out in the wash that people are going to see that a lot of money flowed under the bridge over time that may or may not should have, just like Walter O'Bigby Carriageway. There was a plan that originally Walter O'Bigby Carriageway was supposed to create a east-west corridor and tie into Shed Road. It got hijacked, it got changed, and it ended up going onto property and tying into Benton Road, creating a new intersection along property with people who are aligned with David Montgomery. I'm just going to say it like it is.
Yeah.
Ultimately, in the end, when all of this comes home to roost, do you know where King David's going to be? He's not going to be anywhere where he can be held accountable for it. It'll be whoever's in the council at that time. They'll be the people that'll pay the piper on it all.
You are absolutely correct. So let's go ahead and roll the rest of this, because there's a little bit more to it, and then we'll move on to the next topic. And we appreciate all the commentary. It's been flying by, so we encourage you, comment away.
And Mr. President, if I might add, Ms. McGraw has published the budget according to law. She has published it in the Public Journal. We have had multiple public hearings concerning the budget. We've had a first reading and now a second reading, and we have absolutely, the city has fulfilled every single requirement that is required to pass a valid budget.
Now, I got to agree a little bit with Jacobs there.
I do as well. Yeah. I do as well. I'm not going to disagree either.
But they're trying to shut Mr. Crockett down because he mentioned the magic buzzword, debt. Other than that, I'm sure his discussion would have been fine with him.
Yeah. And again, I mean, yeah, I would say that the city, I mean, they've had a lot of openness and transparency about the budget and deliberations. I'm not going to say that they haven't. I'm not going to make that argument.
Right.
But it doesn't change the fact that if someone wants to, regardless of whether it's the first reading or in a workshop, or whether it's the second reading, it doesn't change the fact that if somebody wants to come up and speak, you give them their 3 minutes and let them speak.
Right.
I mean,
You guys need to remember, it is not your money. It is other people's money. OPM. It's all of our money. And y'all, and the city councilman included. I'm referring to the city councilman. It is all of our money.
I'm guessing the colonel was the only person that was going to get up there and speak. And was King David so fearful of the words that the colonel was going to speak that he had to lose his mind and call a point of order to stop what he was going to say? Did he think that passing the budget was going to fail? No, it wasn't going to fail.
It wasn't going to fail.
So what was it about?
Oh,
what was
it's
it
about his pride.
Rex?
Look, I challenge John Settle. I challenge Jeff Sadow. I challenge us, everybody that's listening, that's an independent, media deal, whatever you want to call us, amateurs out here. I challenge everybody to run with the story Bossier City is in debt, because it's a fact. And we're not saying necessarily that it's bad. We may not completely agree with it, but Bossier City is in debt. That's it. It's a fact. I challenge everybody to run with that story.
Well, hey, Zandra Ashley, she did respond back, and she's ready to come on at any time. All we got to do is say the word. She's says, tell me when to log in. Eric Faulting, I've sent to his personal Facebook and as well to his campaign page, and I've gotten no response from either one. So,
all right, well, let's do this. Let's go and bring that Jeffrey Sadow. Let's see what his comment is, and then we'll bring Xandra in here in just a second. I'll see Montgomery's accounting degree and raise him a BA in public admin and an MBA in finance, besides the aforementioned PhD. So high stakes poker going on here.
See, I bet Jeff didn't know that PhD stands for a post hole digger. I bet he didn't know that.
He did not know that. All right.
I bet he paid more for his degree than I did.
Probably so. All right. You get a discount over there in Halton Land.
That's right.
Why don't we go ahead and we'll mix it up a little bit? Let's bring Xandra on, and
okay. Hang on a second. Hang on a second.
Hold the horses.
So somebody just sent me. They gave me Eric Faulting's number and said, message him.
We got a comment from Weston Merritt. It says Eric Faulting is at a shooting event tonight, I believe, with his son. Hey, can't argue with that. Shooting event with your son. That's awesome. All right. Did you get another comment?
All right. I got a number, and I'm going to send him. I'm going to.
Yeah. Even since we know that he's out with his son, and we certainly don't want to take away any time from that, and wouldn't expect him to either. Maybe send him a message that if he's able to come on later, that would be great. Well, depending on 4-H deal, Weston says so.
I also just had somebody message me and say the shooting event is over.
Well, maybe he'll have time to come on in a minute. So we can do this. Maybe tell Xandra that we'll have her on in just a few minutes. Let's move on through, because that will be a good segue, because Darby takes on the Bossier Parish School Board here in just a second.
Well, let's roll with that, and we'll segue in that. We'll give Faulting a few more seconds, and or a little bit more, and then we'll bring Xandra in and go from there.
Yeah, that sounds like an idea. And want to put one more comment up from our good friend Ryan Haygood. Not only are we in debt, but we have nothing to show for it. David is corrupt. And
that's
Weston,
pretty hard.
That's pretty harsh. Weston says pretty high debt per capita as well. That's true. That's the whole point.
I'm not going to say that David is corrupt. I mean, look, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that I would think that he has made the most use of public service to his ability. I mean, look, you don't get as Jeffrey Sadow pointed out, the millions of dollars in contracts, I think in one of his articles that, David Montgomery has gotten, the port, he writes the insurance for them, the Cypress District, he writes the insurance for them, the police, I think it's the police jury and the sheriff's office, he writes all the insurance for them. He has made the most of public service that I think one could make.
And as long as he's coloring within the lines, staying, legal and ethical and all that, I can't really fault him for that. I mean, I'm a business guy too. I'm a capitalist. I say that all the time. I can't really fault him for that. It's just his attitude.
I just want to hear one thing from him. I want him to say, and that's fine. I mean, look, I'm fixing to offend some people on this show. If he wants to stand up at a Rotary Club meeting and say this and not come on our show and give the explanation, I want to know why and who exactly, specifically, dropped the ball on the Shed Road crossing. Whose legal responsibility was it on the Walter O. Bigby carriageway in the Shed Road? And why did the council vote to change the roundabout and then it not by a vote of a council, a roundabout was back? Why did that happen? Because he was there in all of it.
Good questions.
He pushed for Manchac. I mean, I want to know if he wants to do it at the Rotary Club's meetings, then, hey, he can stand up there. Whoever goes to the Rotary Club meetings and he stands up and does it at that meeting, then you know what? Record it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I can't agree with that. And hey, I believe your wife summed it up in 3 words, better than pretty much everybody. He's just an ass. All right, let's continue on down that pathway for a little bit. That'll give Eric time to maybe, if he's headed home or whatever, come on the show if he can. Again, we don't want to take any time away from his son, especially if they're at a shooting event with the 4-H. That's actually very cool. So let's play this for a few more minutes.
I don't think that's the excuse, because I've gotten a third person that said that the shooting event was over by 6:30.
Okay. Well, maybe they went out to dinner. We'll give him benefit of the doubt. All right.
Okay.
Let's keep on down the path of this for a few minutes, and we'll have Xander on.
We've had budget meetings and talked to each department head about their budget in the entire budget. So I agree. We've done our due diligence.
We started, our first budget workshop that we had was September the 6th, and it was advertised, I believe, about 5 or 6 days prior to that meeting as well.
So that being said, we've established that we do our due diligence to make sure that the public is aware of what we do regarding the city budget. So I appreciate everybody coming. Where are we now?
I had adopt the ordinance to adopt the operating and capital. It's Mr. Montgomery and Mr. Smith. You opened it up for public comments. And
Okay, so that's item number 26
Mr.
or 25?
Crockett was the only public comment.
25, okay. All right, did we get a motion and a second?
Yes, sir.
And we got the comment. Council, please cast your vote on this.
Didn't take them long.
Motion carries.
There's so many places I want to go with that, but we'll leave it for another show. All right. And the next thing I want to do is they moved into a discussion about this deal with the traffic control and the police department and the sheriff's office and the school board at a couple of the schools where there was some issues with, everybody crossing their T's and dotting their I's. So let me fast forward to Phyllis reading that ordinance so that we'll know what it's about.
Introduce an ordinance authorizing Mayor Thomas H. Chandler to execute the attached joint cooperative endeavor agreement between the City of Bossier City and Bossier Parish School Board for the cost sharing of traffic control officers at schools within Bossier City. First reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Montgomery, second, Mr. Maggio. Discussion, council? We got contract in hand, Mr. Attorney?
Sir?
Do we have a contract?
Yes, we do. There is a contract in place that should be attached to the ordinance, and it is between the city and the school board. So,
Took a long time for a one-page contract, didn't it?
there were some.
Had to do it.
There were
I
some.
had to, David, I'm sorry.
Well, there were 3 entities originally involved, and depending on the
That's
money
all right.
aspects and who's paying who and forced overtime versus who's going to be responsible for retirement. So I think between the city, the sheriff, and the school board, that we have gotten the most cost-effective agreement possible between the entities involved.
See, good things take time, Bubba.
And the agreement is for a school year?
Yes, sir. It's for the
Now,
2022,
it's pretty
2023.
Pretty interesting here in a minute because Darby brings up, so y'all listen close, Darby brings up the point of should they actually pay this or not?
School year.
Okay.
It involves 2 intersections. The schools involved at those intersections are actually outside the city limits or the corporate limits of Bossier, but the roads requiring traffic control are inside the city limits. This way, traffic control will be provided. The only other way that the city could have provided it would basically be forced overtime by the Bossier City Police Department, and the city would have to bear retirement cost and things of that nature associated with the payment of that, of that extra forced overtime.
Okay.
Can you shed any light on forced overtime? Do you know anything about that, Duke?
Well, absolutely I can. Mandatory overtime for a public servant is only applicable in the face of an emergency, meaning a natural disaster, shortage of manpower, or a known need. It does not constitute mandatory overtime.
Yeah,
I can tell you that for a fact.
Correct me if I'm
And
wrong.
every one of the councilmen sitting up there, with the exception of Hammonds, Chris Smith, and Vince Maggio, know exactly that. They know that for a fact.
So correct me if I'm wrong. We're not talking about the traffic control officers, whether they're Bossier PD, Bossier Sheriff's deputies, or whatever. We're not talking about them controlling traffic literally all school day. We're talking about whatever time it is in the morning. I think it's about an hour. I could be off a little bit. And about an hour or so in the afternoon. I mean, are we really talking about that much overtime, or am I missing something here?
Well, now look, we had the sheriff came on. Remember, we had the sheriff come on and talk about, they had the school shooting down there in Uvalde, and talking about, the school SROs and what their responsibilities were or whatever. Well, I'm going to tell you, I think we still have some, loose ends here. And this is the same thing, from the city standpoint. I get it. From them, it's a smart thing. Hey, if we can kick in $20,000-$30,000 or whatever to the school board and them handle it, that's fine. That's cheaper on us than us having to handle the whole deal, because it would cost more money. I mean, I totally get it from a monetary standpoint. Heck yeah, that's the way to go. But overall, in the big picture, I don't know if we're doing all of this the right way.
Well, I don't want to belabor this too long, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seems to me like they're not having, or they shouldn't, maybe they have to, but they shouldn't have to pull in extra officers or make them come in on their off time to control the traffic. You take however many officers you have scheduled on duty at that time, and for again, whatever it is, an hour, 90 minutes, whatever in the morning, and an hour, 90 minutes, whatever it is in the afternoon, that particular officer is going to be assigned to this school doing traffic control. If an emergency comes up and that officer is needed elsewhere, well, we're going back to the old school of everybody follows traffic laws.
I would find it hard to believe that the sheriff or, any administrator would force people to come in and call this mandatory overtime. I would find that hard to believe. But what I would believe is that you're going to find guys that are going to want to do it and do it on a set schedule. And the reason that they'll want to do it, because look, for those of you in non-public service, most of the retirements are based off of the average rate of pay of your last 3 years of service. So the more overtime that one can get in their last 3 years of service, that increases, their salary in those last 3 years, and that 3 years is what averages your retirement. It's something that administrators of public service in the city of Bossier have done for years. Fire chiefs, police chiefs, administrative personnel, any opportunity that they got, they would certainly jump right on it. Oh, wait a minute, they're not supposed to get overtime.
Mhm.
Sounds like something with Manshack, right?
Right. Let me
But it happens.
respond to this text. So let me get to the point here that Darby makes, and so this is pretty interesting. So I'm going to hit play again. And look, folks, if I'm on base in what I was theorizing as far as scheduling the officers, let me know. I've obviously never been a civil servant, never been a police officer or anything like that, so I really don't know. It just seems to me that they're making this out to be more complicated than it should be, but maybe I'm wrong.
So the 25,000, have they already selected the officer to do the?
It's my understanding we're going to pay the school board directly, and then they will be in charge of getting the appropriate licensed enforcement officer out there.
Okay.
They have.
They have already?
Yeah, they've been doing it since the beginning of the school year.
All right. So since the school year has already begun, why are we giving them 25,000? I mean, if there's 7 months left in the school year, why are we not just giving them the supplement of 17,000 something?
The original agreement, Mr. Darby, started at the beginning of the school year.
Yeah, but that's their fault that they didn't get the contract to us. That doesn't have anything to do with this body. They failed to establish, timely contract. And we've been waiting. We've been right here. They just, for whatever reason, didn't.
Maybe they discussed it in the school board workshop.
There were discussions between myself, the parish, the sheriff's department, all the entities involved, and again, they have been performing this service since the beginning of the school year. So,
No.
with all the moving parts, it did take several months.
Go ahead.
Now wait a minute. I got 2 points here. One, and I mean, this ain't personal. I mean, this is just a kind of a question I'm going to pose to everybody watching. But doesn't Jacob's wife, doesn't she work for the school system or the school board? Is that right? That may not be right. There's some significance to where she works, but I can't remember that for sure. And then Darby, did he not go to the workshops?
I know. He should have attended the workshops. I bet the school board have one.
Is this not the second reading? I mean, did he not go to the workshops just like the colonel?
Right. See, that's the hypocrisy part.
I knew this. I already knew they had all these meetings. I mean, and I love that Darby's making the argument. I love it. I mean, let's hear it. But touche. I mean,
yeah, I know. Well, in the end, they voted all yes. So, that was the high points of the city council meeting today.
Well, okay. Eric Faulting, I guess, I mean, I messaged his personal phone. I messaged his Facebook page. I messaged his campaign page. I've had 3 people message me since then and say that the shoot that he was said to have attended tonight has been over. So I can only assume he's not going to respond. So I say we go ahead and bring, Zandra in and, go from there. I mean,
yeah,
if Eric,
and I want to bring up a comment too. So Mr. Ron Cheatham says, maybe I missed where y'all asked Eric last week to come on this week. We didn't ask, to be clear, we didn't ask Eric to come on this week. We didn't ask Sandra to come on this week either. This is kind of off the cuff. So if he is available and can come on, if not, I mean, we can have him, do a special edition or something, maybe
Well,
tomorrow or Thursday or something, and we can release that too. We'll be glad to
it,
do that.
yeah, in the start of the show, I mean, we made some comments because we had gotten Proton mail wanting to know why we had not, you know, why we had not, discussed either that race or, um, I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, why we had not discussed that race and we had not really tried to put a debate together or do anything. Well, I mean, I, I gave my explanation for it or what have you, and immediately upon having that discussion, Zandra popped in and said she was ready to come
Right.
on the show. And so
All right.
said, okay. And we said, well, hey, you know what? It might be a great idea that if we see if Eric Fulton can come in as well while Zandra's in. So
Right. On
there you
a technical standpoint, I'm going to close your screen share out
yeah, that's fine.
because I think it's consuming some bandwidth there. So maybe that'll clear your fuzziness up a little bit. Okay. So let me see if I can go ahead and swap screens here in just a second.
Yeah. So
why don't you see if Zandra sent your messenger or see if she can come on in?
I did messenger. So Mr. Cheatham, reach out to Eric and get him to come on. Like right now, message me back on any one of those things, and I sent the link to each one. And okay, having a little technical. She's saying that the our standby.
Okay. If not, we can have her call in.
All right, I'm going to get her to send the mobile. If you want to chat for just a minute and I'll get this set up. If you want to start going into the Butch Ford stuff and the police jury thing, and I'm going to square this away.
Okay, now to be clear, you're going to have her call in because if she is, I have to get the software up. That's fine. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and pull it up. All right, folks, stand by for just a second. And so one of the issues that we're going to talk about tonight, and you've heard us talk about it the last couple of shows, is the fact that the Bossier Parish Police Jury has decided to take over the library. Now, this has not been something they just decided in the last week or two. This has actually been going on for a while. We talked about it way back in like show number 4, but that process is accelerated where basically all the library board members are police jury members now. And even more than that, the police jury has taken over the social media and apparently the website, from what we've been told, of the library system. And there's some people that have some problems with that. So we're going to discuss some more of that here in just a little bit. And, dive a little bit more into why the police jury has decided to take over the library system. And I bet you can probably guess what the reasoning is. It's got to do with dollar signs probably and the budget. So, all right. How are we doing on our guest?
All right. So I was sending her the link via Facebook Messenger because that's the only way I had to contact her. So she sent me her mobile and I sent the link to her via her mobile. We'll see momentarily how that turns out. She was saying that the link said that it was timed out. So never had that happen before, but we never had a show go like it did last show either.
Well, that's true.
So
let me make sure. Yeah, link is up, all that good stuff. I will send it to you again. It should be the same link, but I'm going to I'll text it to you, kind of compare. Well, it should be the same one. The one that ends in E124. Same link.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So stand by. This is what we get for trying to do something off the cuff here.
Yeah, that's right. So, hey, while we're trying to do something off the cuff, I got another one for you.
Ah, there we go. I think she's no, that was your screen share. False.
Oh, okay.
All right. Oh.
Hey,
you want me to share your screen, right?
Yeah. So real quick, while we're waiting to see one of the Xandra come in or what have you. So
nope,
I heard I heard that Joe Biden and the Democrats, they had their answer to how to, fix inflation, in the economy or whatever, and it was called the Inflation Reduction Act. And
Right.
this is a video of it right here.
Oh, really? The
Yeah.
Inflation
Okay.
Reduction. Okay.
Yeah. Here we go.
Oh, shit! Hey!
Oops. A little more than he bargained for. See, folks, where do you get political commentary, discussions, and entertainment all in one show? That's funny.
Xandra may not want to come on after this.
I know. She may be going, I don't really want to get on with those guys. It won't do her any good. It might hurt her chances of winning. So, anyway.
Look, I've got people texting me that they've texted Eric Faulting. So
okay. We're trying.
We're trying. So I'm guessing he doesn't want none of this. And Xandra, I've sent it to her. So I guess we just keep rolling.
We'll keep yakking until she
Yeah,
comes
we'll
in.
just
All
keep.
right. So shall we move in? We'll go ahead and we'll move into either the library or the Cypress District info. Let's move into the Cypress District info because we don't necessarily have to spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah, no, that's big news right there.
Well, actually, yeah, it is. And so, folks, if you remember, we have ranted and raved and been on our soapbox ad nauseum about the Cypress District and the shenanigans that are, I hadn't used that word in a long time, the shenanigans that are going on up there and have been at the Cypress District. And it looks like Xandra's trying to come in, so we'll actually get to more of that because there's some new information that involves the Louisiana Supreme Court and the Attorney General's office
now
with the Cypress District.
Now, before we put the cart before the horse, because Rex, we've been criticized at a lot of people. In fact, we got a message one time that somebody said, look, when I watch your show, I can't follow a lot of the stuff that you guys are talking about because you're so far ahead on things. And, we got to kind of segue backwards a little bit and try to talk about some of the things and some of the history because a lot of people aren't caught and up to speed. I mean, so they may be watching and they may be like, okay, I missed a part. I'm not up to speed with you guys. So
right. Well, we'll give them the summary version of it for sure.
Yeah, go backwards a little bit more and a little more detail.
Well, yeah, so I'll spend a couple of minutes giving the history, and then we'll get Xandra on, and then after we do all that, we'll move into the stuff. So the deal is the Cypress District is a taxing authority. It is a taxing entity. Is it 1.44? No, 1.56 mills across like 80% of Bossier Parish. So you're pretty much, if you live in Bossier Parish, chances are you're paying tax to the Cypress District. And they have had shenanigans going on forever. They're way out, what I consider way out of whack on their budget. They borrowed a bunch of money, similar to what the city council's doing from the same organization. They have spent it on some capital improvements, some of which we hadn't really seen the results of. Some of them we have. They also spend a lot of money with a Caddo Parish law firm, the Ayers Law Firm, and they're sue happy. And there's no other way to put that because, well, they're operating on other people's money, all of our tax dollars. And so that's the background of the Cypress District. Now, there's a bigger picture there involving a lot of other players in Bossier Parish. Let's just put it that way for now. And that's also part of the reason we've been keeping an eye on them. There was a lawsuit against Robert Berry, this director out there, and it went through the Good Old Boys Network, involved our favorite city attorney, Charles Jacobs, as a matter of fact. So that's kind of the lead up to it. We'll talk more in depth about this new turn of events and how it's related to the Good Old Boys Network when we get to that topic. All right, so that's the setup to the Cypress District, which we're going to get to after we talk about the school board with Xandra and hopefully if Eric can come on tonight. Is that good enough, Mr. Lowry?
That's pretty good. Something tells me that Eric is not going to come on. There's no way he doesn't know that we're saying his name and we're not talking about him. Although I haven't seen Xandra show up yet.
Well, she's here. She's in the waiting room.
Oh, okay. So
right. So I'm
we
going to
want
try
to
to
go ahead and
Yeah, let's go ahead. And like I
now,
said, if Eric
and,
comes in, we'll have him join in.
and before we do that, I want to point Ryan Haygood. Ryan, I- Eric has to check with Seabiscuit.
Shame on you, Ryan. That's not nice.
What do we do with that? I mean,
I don't even know. That's just not nice. All right, let me see if I can get Xandra assigned here and get her audio up. Hold on just a second. All right, oops. Oh crap. Hold on, Xandra. All right. Okay, so I'm going to try to bring her in live now. And Xandra, can you hear us?
I can.
Great, and we've got your audio. That's even better.
Oh, awesome. Hello.
How are you tonight?
Hello. You
I'm
sound
tired,
good, actually.
but I'm happy because the 7th grade football team at Elm Grove are district champs. So,
hey,
thumbs
that's
up
always a
on
good thing. Yeah.
It is.
So,
well, Xandra.
Yeah, go ahead, Duke. I'll let you lead this.
Yeah, Xandra, you watching the show, and you're running for school board. I mean, and we started out, we were talking about how we had gotten a message about why had we not had a debate or set up a debate, because we'd done debates before, and your husband was in one of the council debates and did really well. I mean, really a great guy. Actually, everybody that ran for that council seat, Brian Hammonds, Mr. Lombardino, your husband, all great people, and I think any one of those folks would have served that district well. But here you're wanting to serve as well too, and we, haven't covered that. But somebody was critical of us that we hadn't covered it, and so we were talking about it. You chimed in the comments, and here you are. You're available. So, what is your why?
Well, serving on school board is just an addition of what I've already been doing. I've worked in education. Education has always been and will always be my passion. I have a soft spot for our young people, especially. My mom is a retired Bossier School Board educator. She was an educator for almost 30 years. And my dad is a pastor. So it comes natural that jumping in and serving is nothing that's alien or new to me. Now, when I found out that the school board seat was available in my district, considering I'm constantly working in education, I'm constantly talking and advocating for education, I'm already working on different committees with Bossier School Board, why not do even more to or try to get on the board to do more to help our city education, our young people, and all that comes with that? Because I see where we are, I see where we need to be, and there seems to be this wall before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID that prevents parents from being involved or aware. I see the teachers that are frustrated and leaving. Teachers go to school and pay a good amount of money to go to school, and time and energy and effort to get their certifications and everything else, and they're told they can't teach. So what have they been doing? They've been leaving. We don't have a shortage of educators. We have great teachers, especially in South Bossier, but they're exhausted. They're tired. Their complaints, concerns, desires have fallen on deaf ears. And the same for our students that we can't get to come into the classroom. They're disengaged. They've given up on themselves and other things. Behavior has been an issue because of a number of things. I see the issues with bullying. I've dealt with that with my daughter and my son. And I see our young people with mental issues, as we all have, but they're dealing with social and emotional issues that are not being addressed. We have our young people taking their lives or self-harming. Another big issue that constantly comes up in my home, I have a child that's in middle school and a child that's in high school, and both of them talk about how much vaping is becoming an issue. Our young people are lost because they need somebody who cares enough to pull them in and not just sit on school board and say that we're going to do something, but do something. Not saying that that's what, our school board members that are currently on the board are doing, but I know that I'm strong enough and bold enough to make a difference because I'm already making a difference as just a citizen in my community. So just advancing there.
Well, let me throw a question out to you, and I'm just thinking of these off the cuff here, so bear with me. And we're going to take some questions if people ask them in the comments also.
Okay.
And we want to keep it, pretty much related, obviously, to the school board. So let's go down that bullying pathway for a second. So it seems to me that, and maybe it's because of social media, we have instant access to information now and all that compared to, I know when Duke and I were younger, Xandra, I'm not sure how old you are, but I mean, there was bullying. Okay. There was bullying that went on. Absolutely. I mean, I've told the story on the show before and all that. And I've said before that I hate the word bullying because it just grates on my nails, because sometimes it is overused, but I want to be clear. It absolutely does go on. Okay. What do you think is causing this, I'll say spike in bullying, increase in bullying, however you want to put it? And where does the line fall between the school board and the parents in how to address this? What is the school board's role?
The school board's role is to get in the school, to create policy, practice, and procedures. We don't micromanage the school, but you get in there, you talk to the teachers, you talk to the students, you get in the community, you talk to the parents, you surround yourself with the ins and outs of our school to see exactly what's going on and why. Now, I will say there is no one solution to bullying. And I will say bullying is a word that umbrellas a number of issues. Bullying is nothing new. We all know, and you can touch any generation. You can go 30 years, 40, whatever. Bullying is something that's been around forever. Now, having access to a platform that will expedite bullying and put it on a different level, that's what social media is. So we're fighting that battle now. But bullying is nothing new. And yes, some people will exhaust what bullying is, but to me, it's a matter of creating a climate at home and at school that makes clear and define what bullying is, how it sounds, how it looks, and not just presenting that to the students, but where we have spaces to sit down and discuss why that language is not okay, what that does to others, especially in middle school. Middle school, those are the hardest years because those young girls and boys are developing fast and dealing with a lot fast. So it's important. And at home, let's speak for myself, I'm intentional in what language I use in front of my kids. I don't allow them to watch certain things. I don't allow them to be around me when I'm having certain conversations because I don't want my perception of people and things to be theirs. We sit and have open conversations about things that happened at school and their opinions. And I'm quick to tell them, well, let's not use that word, or let's not say that. If, for example, Caden talked about some girl, they call her Bigfoot at school. And he said, well, she laughs it off, and to her, that's okay. But I think it hurts her feelings. So I call her by her name. And I told him that's important for you to lead and be that example, because sometimes we will laugh stuff off, but it really hurts us on the inside. And I think a lot of us adults and kids together, we find things funny and that aren't funny. And oftentimes we laugh things off as a defense mechanism because we don't know how to go to our peer or whomever and say, hey, that's not funny, that hurts my feelings. So everybody plays a part in being the solution, and everybody plays a part in being the problem. When we don't discuss it and pretend that it's not happening and expect it to just go away, then we allow it to continue. So the best way is to address it, to start having those conversations, to just begin defining for us all, because everybody defines things differently, what bullying is and what bullying isn't. And what it may be for you, it may not be for the next person, but we want to make sure that we are sensitive to the needs of especially our young people, because they are not built tough like we are. And even as adults, we can still be conscious of what we say and how we say things.
Well, just a second, Duke. Let me go a little bit further down that rabbit hole, because I want to get your opinion on the zero tolerance policy. And let me set the stage here for a little bit. So you hadn't seen my boys in a long time, but in full disclosure, they were on a football team, and Darren was their coach and all that. So it's been a long time, but we have a rule around my house, all right? And we still have the rule, even though they're 20-something years old now. You don't start a fight. All right. But if you have to defend yourself or defend somebody that is being picked on, I got your back all the time. And literally, we had to go to the school more than once and do the whole meeting with the assistant principal, the psychiatrist, blah, blah, blah. You go on down the list. All right. But we have the zero tolerance policy in schools. So what is your opinion of zero tolerance policy?
Okay, I hate it, but I understand why it's in place. They're told to, and this was years ago when our oldest was in school, they were told if somebody hits you, you get in the fetal position and you do absolutely nothing. I don't know how we as human beings who fight or flight, those are the two that we take. I don't see how you really expect young people who have been hit, embarrassed in front of their peers to take fetal position and do nothing, and why they should be punished. And that goes to, we've kind of adopted ways where we would rather just take the students and push them out of the way and group them together and say, okay, well, here's the thing. You hit them, it's zero tolerance. Both of you will be written up and you have to go. Instead of sitting them down, having a discussion, and explaining to both of them, these are the consequences of your actions. You, the aggressor, approached them and hit them. So you will be punished for this reason, but we still have to deal with the psyche. Like, what brought you to this? Teach them that there are other options other than being physical, right? So having that discussion in front of them, but not punishing the child who was hit, because that sends a message that you can't defend yourself. They're not going to defend you. So what does our young people do? They feel they have no other option other than to self-harm, because some kids don't know how to go to their parents or won't go to their parents. And we know that. And that's when they fall into depression, and some kids take their lives. I don't agree with zero tolerance. I think I get why it's in place, because we have to set boundaries, but we need to do more than just set boundaries. We have to start having conversations, because it's not like our young people just automatically know how to handle these situations. Even as adults, we don't know how to handle some of these situations. And if somebody came up to us and hit us, we're not going to just walk away and say, oh, well, I shouldn't have let them hit me.
Well, I can agree with that. Absolutely. Duke, did you have a question or comment or whatever?
Oh, absolutely. But I'm going to, on that right there, you're running for a seat on the Bossier Parish School Board. In your opinion, has the Bossier Parish School Board effectively, or to all their ability, managed the bullying issue in the Bossier Parish school system to date?
No, I don't. And it's a lack of communication and transparency. Our school board has become too distant from the reality of what's going on in the schools. The only way you truly know what's going on is if you're talking to the ones who are in the classroom, the ones who are in the school. We don't do that. We don't talk to the parents. Not to say that that's the job of the school board, because that's a reach. Of course, that's teacher needs to talk to the parents. And if that's not resolved, then principal, and you follow that chain of command. But it's setting clear expectations as school board and say, Okay, we can put zero tolerance on everything, but as we know, that just escalates bullying when we're not doing the work that is required to make sure that every school knows what the expectations are, that they are having those necessary conversations and paying attention and creating a safe space for students to report bullying without there being retaliation. Because there's times where a student goes to a teacher, and if the teacher doesn't believe them or finds it hard to believe or confronts them in front of their peers, and the kids run and tell whomever it is, then that just escalates things. So learning what is the proper way to protect our kids from bullying. And Bossier Parish School Board, not to say there's a lot that goes with being in education, and always related to me as a parent. It's hard enough with 2 kids. We have 3, but 2 that are school age that are constantly bickering. And it's a constant conversation. It's constantly talking to them. I can't just put a note on the board and my kids follow that every day. I have to be consistent, and we are not a consistent system that continues to have necessary conversations, that continues to engage our teachers, our educators, our school employees, parents, and community, and create a whole climate that says, okay, this is what we're going to do about bullying. We're going to discuss what has happened at the hands of bullying, open and transparent about it, and not sweep it under the rug, because that you cannot heal what you don't reveal. We're going to be open and transparent and have these necessary conversations. And then we're going to begin to do the work at every school so that we can eventually and collectively put a stop to bullying as best we can in our schools.
Well, following up, I mean, I wanted to move to a second thing. The first thing that you said that, there's teachers leaving, and, you've been involved and you talk to them, and you kind of know. Last show we had, the, uh, professional pothole digger, Jeffrey Sadow. That's no slight, Jeffrey. That's just making fun. But, when I was preparing for that show, I was going through, you know, checking some numbers. And one of the things that I came across when I was looking at the legislative auditor's office, I was looking at it came up in one of my searches, which was a millage rate and revenue, listing of all of the school districts in the state of Louisiana. And to my surprise, I looked at the Bossier Parish school system. And there was only, of all of the school systems, there were 69. I'm sitting here, I have it pulled up. There were 69 of them. The millage rate for Bossier Parish was listed as the 4th highest in the state of Louisiana for all the school districts. So when you say teachers are leaving and all, and we're not, or maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, that we're not being effective, we hear too often it's always about money. Is it really about money, or is it about the actual process and the administration of it? Is that where the problem is? Because obviously in the state of Louisiana, there's enough money being thrown at education in Bossier Parish, but I don't know. I mean, what do you think about that?
Teachers can chime in, because I'm not going to pretend as if I know all of the reasons why our teachers are leaving. It's more than just money, and that's a matter of a misappropriation of fund. Yes, you can throw money at all kinds of things, but if you're not hitting where you need to be hitting, then it's pointless. But teachers are leaving because a lot of teachers have to work multiple jobs because they don't make enough. They're leaving because they feel their hands are tied, and going to school and having the passion to teach when you're not allowed to do that in your classroom, when you feel that you are restricted to the point of no return, they leave. Teachers feel that they are not supported by administration. They feel that they're not heard, and they feel that it's a bit too much. You have a lot of teachers that are looking for jobs now. I was talking to my friend last night who said this is a way for them to prevent themselves from going into the crazy home. because there's so much that our teachers see and want to say, but they can't. You talk about, I don't even know how to explain it, but they know that if they say something, they'll be retaliated against. And that's nothing new. So yes, money is an issue because anybody who sits in a classroom, especially today, that would have to do the things that our teachers have to do at the pace that they have to do it, with the lack of support that they have to do it, you would understand why pay is necessary, because it's hard to get up early and go to school and work and do the best you can and go home and try to be mother, wife to your home. But you can't be that because you have to pick up another job because you're not making enough. And keep in mind, we have single parent homes that are educators as well. So there are a number of reasons that need to be addressed. But I would say the main thing is our teachers feel that they can't teach the way they know is necessary to reach our young people, to truly educate them in a way that they will learn. They feel that what education is to them is not being implemented in our school system.
All right. So that is a good segue to a point I've been wanting to ask a pretty good while. And this is addressed to, all teachers who are listening or watching or commenting or whatever. So we all hear the horror stories every election cycle or every time that a millage renewal comes up. And look, I make no secret that I fought like hell against the tax increase, the 40% tax increase last time. But we've all heard the horror stories of teachers who are underpaid that also have to literally buy their own supplies for the schoolroom. And we hear this over. I mean, I've been hearing it since like I was a kid in high school or whatever. Why is that? How do we fix that? Why should a teacher have to come out of their pocket to provide supplies for an entire classroom? What is the deal? Why is it going on?
I can tell you, Rex, because it's more important to have AstroTurf. Xander don't have to answer that one. That's the reason why.
I'm trying to be nice to the school board.
Education's not the priority. It's athletics. I'm sorry. There, I said it. She doesn't have to say it.
Though I love the turf, I'm not going to lie to you, and not just teachers feel that. I was talking to a bus driver who has been in the system for a long time, who feels that they should receive raises. And she herself said, we can give turf to these kids, but you can't provide pay to the educators and school staff who are caring for these kids more than anything. We as a state prioritize sports over education. When you're ranking 46th in K through 12 and 48th overall, clearly we need to value education more and push for quality education more. And there's a lot that plays into that, but I don't know. I think that.
Well, I'm gonna play gotcha here off of what you just said, because I read that statistic today. Actually, I had read that we were 49th, but 48th. That's good to hear that we moved up one level. But I know that historically we've been at 49 for a long time, and that makes me ask the question, because a lot of folks have tried to make some changes in education, and with programs of charter schools and the money follows the kid and all that. Where do you stand on that? Now, I asked your opponent, Eric Faulting, and we invited him multiple times on the show tonight. His personal and people emailed me to say that they invited him as well. No response whatsoever. Now, I asked him at the Republican Parish Executive Committee where he stood on that, and his response to me was he had no idea what that meant. The money follows the kid, or the charters. He didn't understand all that. He didn't know what it meant. So I'm asking you, where do you stand on it? I mean, and do you know what it means?
To an extent, I'm not a fan of charter schools. I'm going to say that now, and I'll explain why. Education is what it is because a lot of people see it as a money grab. So you have charter schools and you have private schools, and we're creating all these different choices. The school system, public schools exist for a reason, because clearly we notice that there's an extreme need for a public school system in every state, right? Well, especially let's stick with Louisiana. So to me, what I see charter schools to be are just money grabs. They have not advanced education. They have not created a need for us to just run to charter schools and give up on public schools. I honestly believe if we would stop being like dogs chasing our tails and just take our public schools that are federally and state funded, that we have money to make the best and make it the best, we'll forget all about charter schools. Now, to each his own, do what you feel is necessary. I think that it's important for us to at least have conversations. And I will tell everybody, I'm not a knee-jerk reaction person. I love to research. I love to look at the statistics. I love to have necessary conversations with everybody across the board. But the right here and the right now, we have schools that are underserved, and we have dollars that are misappropriated. We have brand new schools that have opened up and have made it even harder to provide for the schools that are struggling the most. So those are the issues that need to be addressed. When you see students that are in 12th grade reading at a 6th grade level, when you see third graders reading at a kindergarten level, when you see kids struggling to keep up and they feel the need to be medicated because the PACER scale tells our teachers you have to teach all of this at this pace or you will be reprimanded. Those are the real issues that affect us every day. So I'm one that I want to address what's right in front of my face. I've watched my kids go from ones who love to sit down, that had structure, where it was clear and concise what was going on in the classroom, to me struggling to chase what app, platform, or whatever we were using today to help them with their homework. Those are the real issues that need to be addressed. And if we would stick to the guns of focusing on providing quality education to the schools that we are financially feeding right now, things will be more clear.
All right.
Is it possible to provide quality education with a student teacher ratio of 30+1? Is that possible?
Is it possible? Go ahead.
Yeah, because that's my thing. That's my thing. I think the key to education is reducing the student teacher ratio. I've always believed that. I ran for the legislature, and that's what I believed. I believed it then. I still believe it today. And I think that's the key. But how is it that if we've got Bossier Parish spending the most amount of money of all districts in the state of Louisiana, and we can't do it here, we can't reduce our student teacher ratio to a manageable level? I've talked to a lot of teachers, and they say, you know what? The pay is not the biggest issue for me. It's the quantity of the students and being able to control. How can a teacher effectively educate 30+ kids in a classroom? They can't do it. And I mean, if your son, let's say your son is not an athlete, or your daughter, or what, they're not an athlete, but they're really smart at math or really smart at science, shouldn't they have the ability to say go to a magnet school, or if they so choose, or should they be confined to where they geographically live? Should they be locked down? Shouldn't they have the choice to be able to move? Don't you think? If to reach their full potential?
To answer that specifically, and I've gone to the extremes of homeschooling my daughter, at a point in time because I felt she wasn't receiving the education that she needed individually because she deals with seizures and everything else. Okay. So, yes, I believe that if your schools are not providing what is needed for your child, because I honestly believe every day that your child is not receiving quality education is a day lost. Every year is a year lost. So, as a parent, I get it. Do what is necessary and take your child wherever they will receive quality education. But for someone who supports public schools wholeheartedly, I would love for our schools to compete. I would love for our schools to understand, because they do to an extent. I was at a school meeting 2 weeks ago with parents, Dr. Bourgeois and everybody else, and they talked about some of the tutoring programs and the issues with the tutoring programs, how there's a wait list. There's only 3 people that can be tutored at a time because they know that the ratio of teacher to student works best when you only have a few students. So if we can see that with these tutoring programs, clearly we understand that when the ratio is reduced, teacher to student, 1 to 15 or whatever, we know that you can reach more students in a way that they will truly grasp concepts, learn, and that it sticks and builds upon, then it's possible. The question would be, why not? It would be something that our teachers and everybody has to hold themselves accountable. The parents who are not paying attention and getting involved, the teachers, which I get with teachers, but there has to be a point where teachers are bold enough to say enough is enough. We know that our students need to be educated and they're not given what is necessary. So what do we do? What can we do? The power is always in the people, but the people don't know. The people aren't engaged because, once again, our teachers feel if they say something, they'll be retaliated against. Our schools should provide quality education. It is possible when we sit down and have necessary conversations, but that goes to us forcing those conversations to be had, because a lot of times we know Bossier Schools would rather be its own entity away from everything else, and they shut it down fast, which I get it.
I think you're a capitalist and you just don't know it, Rex.
No, I'm a Xandra, and you don't know.
All right. So I want to circle back to the financial side for a minute. Because, again, not to rehash the past, but back, when they tried the 40% tax increase, I think it was 2018, 2019, whatever it was.
And Rex, that makes me wonder if we wouldn't have been number 1 in taxes in the state had that passed. I think we
probably would have been more than number 1 if that's even possible. But do you know, Xandra, when the lady that's the head or was head of the teachers union at the time literally almost had a stroke on a television interview, and when the school board really got pissed off at yours truly, do you know at what point during that whole battle that was? It was when we released the salaries of the school board members and the upper level management. And they went ballistic. As a matter of fact, and I'll say this live on the show, as a matter of fact, we had to threaten them with a lawsuit because they sent us the wrong numbers. And I would argue on purpose. It might have been a clerical error, but it was a big deal. And they went absolutely ballistic. That's why I still call her the head cheerleader up there. When we published all their salaries, they went absolutely nuts. Now, here's my question to you. Do you think that the Bossier Parish School Board is top-heavy? Because I've claimed that for a while.
I do, but I'm going to be realistic. Like I said, on the outside looking in, there's a lot of things that we don't know. And I did a public request for our finances last year because I'm constantly wanting to know. And I've looked at those salaries myself. I do believe we are top heavy. However, beyond that, there are several grants, dollars, funds all around that we received. And there's ways to do what is necessary to educate our kids and provide pay to our teachers, I believe, if we sit down and do some digging.
Yeah. Okay. I would agree because our point was never against the teachers. It was, wait a minute, before you son guns get up there and preach to us that, we got to vote this in or all the teachers are going to leave and they're all underpaid and all that, you're preaching from your high horse. And that was the problem.
Right.
All right. So yeah, I appreciate your honesty.
Mm-hmm.
I do too. I got to tell you, that's refreshing. To hear you say that, because a lot of people feel that way, and I'm going to say this. I mean, I don't know that a lot of the changes that are things that we see happening today would be happening if we had effective management that wasn't looking out for just maintaining the status quo. And that's my gut feeling. I think that a lot of what we do today is just maintaining the status quo. And like you said, you quoted and cited the fact that we're 48th. And are we going to continue to keep doing the same thing? Or are we going to change? I think we've got to change. And
we do.
I got to tell you, to me, I'm hearing you articulate conservative principles. I got to tell you, I mean, you may. I'm
and let me say, politics play no role in education, and I'll break it down for you. Can you tell me who your child's principal? Are they Republican or Democrat?
Couldn't tell
Their
you.
teacher, their counselor, the many people who work in central office. Can you tell me?
Well, the interesting thing is I have two kids in school that one goes to a Christian private school and one goes to a public school. And that may make a lot of folks scratch their heads, but it's a personal decision that's, took place in our house. And they actually, and believe it or not, they are twins. So there is an interesting comparison contrast, and I actually have a perspective that a lot of people may or may not have regarding I'm a product of Halton High School, of this Bossier Parish public education system. But when I graduated in 1988, I can tell you it was a different system than it is today. And a lot of things have changed. And I'm not confident in the success of the current Bossier Parish school system. And it has nothing to do with the individual teachers. It has to do with the management of the system. And that certainly falls on administration, and clearly on administration. Don't get me wrong, there's some good people. But I think that a too big to fail type scenario is here, and the system is looking out for itself. I do.
Sad to say it is. And I'll say it goes back to us holding people accountable. It's when we don't make clear that if your job is to educate, let's educate. Let's make sure that we're providing quality education to our students and that we are allowing the educators to do their job. Does there need to be change? Absolutely. But I'm torn between the two, because I was an advocate for Common Core curriculum. I was like, I love Common Core, the idea of Common Core. We did not implement it properly. We were not ready for it. We tried to take the cheap way in, out, through, and around it, which made things even more complicated. And we were not, once again, consistent with Common Core. And we didn't have those necessary conversations with teachers and say, is this a good idea? Do you think that this New York standard curriculum will work for our Louisiana kids? Is it too broad? And I think that is what we're seeing. We are providing a totally different language to our kids who have never seen it, don't speak it, and don't comprehend it at all. And instead of reaching our kids one step at a time, our system and those powers that be have crammed certain things down the throats of our teachers and are forcing them to just roll with it. And for the educator who is one that knows better, has seen better, believes greater than that, then they leave and they do, what is needed. I think that we can make improvements. I think that we have a problem with addition. Instead of adding to the things that work, we'd rather tear it all down and start anew. And that's what we did, which was horrible. We should have kept the things that worked, removed the things that didn't, and built on those things, because that's what education is. But a lot of these programs and platforms that we use, the teachers it's presented to them last minute. They don't have enough time to train on it. And keep it in mind that if we are becoming a technological system, not everybody is tech savvy. So if you're not having workshops for parents, if you're not having workshop for teachers that are effective, then you are providing a disservice, not only to the community and the students, but especially to the teachers whose job depends on them to educate and do well on scores and everything else. And don't get me started on that, because I think that we need to just focus on education and not standardized testing, but that's a whole nother battle.
It is. And I'd like to remind all of our viewers out there that LA-B, that bastion of conservative principles, is one of the groups that helped usher in Common Core into the state of Louisiana, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely they are. Now, I think you said you were a supporter of Common Core, in which you and I would have to part ways on that, because I would not be in favor of that. But if you said that you would be in favor of starting over and teaching all of our kids with the New England primer, then you and I would be on the same page. But I don't think you're probably going to say that.
No, and I'll be specific. I like the fact that my son, because my daughter is 15, my son is now 13. So in kindergarten, I knew that Caden loved math. Before he got into kindergarten, we would have pennies, dimes, nickels all throughout the house trailed, where he would have to count. Like we broke it down. Numbers were always a thing for him. Now, Common Core provided a way for them to start building and truly understanding what algebra was, knowing what the language was, knowing what a higher level of math and everything else was. Because once you start, and it's just like, okay, a baby, you don't have to sit down with a baby and teach them what language is. They hear it and they learn it. So clearly, if you present it to them and it is a constant, they will learn it. I love that Common Core started them early on those hard concepts, so that by the time they really needed it in middle school and high school, it was second nature to them. The idea of Common Core is what I like.
One question. I mean, look. I mean, obviously, those should be the things that we have a debate about when we talk about school board races and things. Is about specifically about education. Jimmy Richardson said in the comments, CRT question mark.
Okay.
But I want to. I'm not going to ask. I want to. You can make a comment on CRT there for a second, but the one I want to talk about is COVID, because the school board really put the vac, the vax stuff and the mask mandates, and me and Rex, we did a show where it was almost dedicated just to showing and proving that masks don't work. I mean, for this, we said it before the science really got out there and said it, but we did the background on it, because just my background in the fire service, I can tell you that it didn't work. But we showed it, and we showed. I don't remember the details of the show. I'd have to go back and pull it. But the school board wholeheartedly went all on board with all of these. Everybody's staying at home, and as we're seeing now, the science is coming out and showing that a lot of us were led down the wrong roads. And school board members today would say, you know what? That's what the doctors were telling us at the time, and that's what we went with. But they had the opportunity to do a little bit digging more and maybe cut to the meat of it. Would you have been any different than them? Would you have dug a little more, and would you have taken a different tack, or if today even today, right now, if you were posed with the question of, okay, we need to do mandatory lockdown, shut down school, mandatory masks, contact tracing, all that stuff, would you be in favor of that even today?
I'll say hindsight is 2020, right?
Right.
Right. No pun intended. But just like polio, flu, common cold, everything else, you don't know what you know until you know. And it is always best to err on the side of caution. Everybody had an opinion. Everybody had their own suggestions, what they would do, to each his own. But me personally, considering people close to me lost their lives and are still dealing with health issues because of COVID, I was one who spoke on it and said, let your decision be well researched and based on as much science as we know. Everything that we see today started with us learning what would work and what wouldn't. So there's a lot that we had to learn. There's a lot that we have learned. And I don't know, and that goes back to valuing education. And it's okay to err on the side of caution until you know better. It is impossible to please everybody. You can't. That's why you have to play both sides. Our school system consists of people of all ideologies, faiths, beliefs, and everything else. But as a school system, we have to be structured and we have to do what is best, especially when it comes to health. And I even spoke at one of the school board meetings. I said, when you have parents who will send their child to school even for flu and strep, yeah, we need to take some precautions. We need to err on the side of caution as best we can. Forever, absolutely not. And we can even go deeper into that. While COVID, because of COVID, and we saw there are a lot of gaps because of COVID, learning and social, emotional, and all. But what we should have done was been more proactive and not reactive. We reacted to what we saw in the news. We reacted to what everybody was saying and what everybody thought, instead of, and I'm a godly person to the core, instead of caring for the least of those. The walk of Christ is doing for everybody because you take on the burden of others. Even if you don't agree, and even when you do agree, you err on the side of caution, which is in love of one another for your neighbors, right? So I think that there's a lot that we learned. I thank God that we are out of it and we are still, in a sense, dealing with it, but we are better on the other side of it. And I think that we all can be honest and say, we learned a lot from 2020 and 2021. And that it is impossible to please everybody. Nobody got it right all the time. Nobody got it wrong all the time. But we learned a lot.
Well, I would only add one point, and Rex, I'll shut up and let you chime in after. I'm sorry. You know, I hope I am wrong on this, and I hope that whoever made this statistic and the scientists that did this study and the estimate that they gave, I hope and pray that they are wrong. You know, there's a lot of things are coming true now that we all went out there on a limb, and a lot of people, you know, went out there because the people who with the PhD said this is what it should be or what have you. But you know, I saw a statistic from a study that said within the next 8 to 10 years that I think 80% of the people that got the vax are going to be dead. And I hope that's not true, but I don't think we're done with it. And that's the reason I ask you that question, because I don't think it's something that we're going to be finished with. I think it may have a different flavor. It may have a different color. It may have a different description, whatever. But I don't think we're done with those type of problems coming in the near future. And whoever is in these elected positions, not just the school board, I think in city government in Bossier City, the parish, you're going to have decisions that you're going to have to make. And I'm scared for our future, for especially for the people who are making decisions. And I wish that our elected officials would make more decisions independently of what they are being told, by so-called professionals, that they have a mind of their own and they let their gut lead them, and they do what their heart and their gut tells them. Something tells me you're that kind of person. I got that feeling about you.
I will say God does not give us a spirit of fear. So I don't, fear is one thing that is just an opportunity for me to push my faith and learn more. Let's just say that. But yes, if we were more transparent as a school system, if we were more open and allowed open discussion just for the sake of discussion and assured people, look, I know you may agree, you may disagree, but this is what we need to do because once again, education is falling short, and because our students are becoming more and more lost, or whatever the case may be. Communication rules the nation. I think had we communicated better, which is kind of impossible because you're learning along the way, but had we been more transparent and open to the best of their ability that they could, maybe it would have made things better. And I mean, it's a virus, it mutates, of course, but we can't live in fear, but we are, like the Bible says, oftentimes destroyed by lack of knowledge. It is important that we constantly educate ourselves and learn from our mistakes.
So segueing into that, and I don't know, I don't even know what time it is, about 9:15 now. What are your views on religion in schools? Specifically, let's use, something that's fairly famous here in Bossier, prayer in schools. And I'm keeping that real general, but what are your viewpoints on how that dynamic should work in the school system?
My kids pray in school. I don't, God is not a symbol, and God doesn't need an invitation. Prayer doesn't need an invitation. Now, God is not the author of confusion. And Jesus was one that walked the streets and didn't beg people to come. You either come or you don't. So God doesn't need people to battle for God's sake. Everybody has their own level of who God is and who God isn't. I'm confident in who God is to me, and that's what I can control. So when God is within me and God is what's taught at home, we read, we study, we do what is necessary, we go to church, and I teach my kids what their faith should be, and they're going to have to adopt that on their own the older they get. But considering God is within them, when they are in the school, God is in the school. It's not a symbol that you can just put up and there it is at the school. I think that we make it more complicated than it needs to be. I think that us battling religion in the school or out of the school is just, and I get it, but I think it's more complicated than it needs to be. You don't need an invitation to pray, but you can't force other people to believe what you believe. And God is the same way. God is not a puppet master. It is your choice to believe or not to. So, I mean, my dad is a pastor, and I'm one who is deep in my word all the time. And I honestly believe that you can't force people to God, and God doesn't need us to.
And so, all in pun intended, let me play devil's advocate here for a second. All right, so how does that dynamic work with people of other faiths, whether we agree with it or not? How does that dynamic work with Muslims or some of these, made-up religions that people do the flying spaghetti monster crap? How does that dynamic work? Yeah, it's real. It's real.
You got to show that. I ain't never seen that, I guess.
Well, the flying spaghetti monster is basically made up by people who are anti-Christian. So let's just put it that way. All right, but still, one person's religion is another person's whatever. So how does that dynamic work? And let's just use Muslims. We'll probably get a bunch of hate mail or whatever, but let's just use Muslims. What if they want to, and forgive me if I'm saying this wrong to any of the Muslims out there or whatever, but what if they want to do their prayer to Allah at the end of the day where they put their rug down or whatever? How do you feel that dynamic in our country should work as well?
I don't, does that happen? Is that happening in our schools? Because I don't think they do. And my kids don't get down. Prayer is not for me. And again, that's not my religion. And nobody's religion can be forced on anybody because it's something that you accept for yourself, right? And we all know that to be baptized, you have to accept Christ within your heart yourself. So that is a choice that you make. I don't think that that's happening in our schools. If it is, point me in that direction. I think that they do their own things at a specific time. And the same for my kids. My kids don't get on their knees and go to praying. Prayer is meditation. Prayer is something that they can do at any time without anybody knowing, because that's what prayer is.
Good enough.
Well, Zandra, we are gracious to you for coming on the show, and I mean, I think you will serve that district well, and I think you would serve the parish well if you got in that seat. I mean, I like what I've heard from you. I am first time conversing with you. I got to tell you, I found that I agreed with you more than I disagreed with you. I think maybe the only thing that I heard that I may have disagreed with you maybe on was Common Core, and I think that's it.
And that's go ahead. I'm sorry, Rick.
Oh no, that's fine. I was just going to say it's refreshing to me, even though if we have to look at labels behind names, we might consider ourselves opposites as far as politics goes in the mainstream deal. But I got to say, I agree with you at like Duke more than I disagree, and it's refreshing to hear somebody give a straight answer and not waver about it.
You better believe it.
Well, that's one thing I will never do, because again, and I will say, education is vital. It is so important. You talk about the state of our economy. It is directly tied to quality education or not. So if we truly care about our city, if we truly care about this parish, we truly care about our state, we will get serious about who we elect all across the board, because these representatives, we keep going against our own personal interests, and we have to point the finger at ourselves, especially when it comes to Bossier School Board. We have people on the board that have sat for far too long and that are creating their own you talk about a good old boy system. That's a good old boy system in itself. And it's parallel to city council and everything else. How do you break that up? You put people in there who are going to do the job. Our system is failing because we are not electing people who are going to do what is necessary, say what is necessary, and not bend to the rule of thumb of status quo, but people who are passionate and who are consistent in doing what is necessary for our young people to be viable citizens, because that is so necessary. When we provide them what is needed for them individually when it comes to arts, quality education, getting off these computers and truly doing work that really works, we won't have students that are disengaged and bored. We'll have students who want to come to school because they feel that their purpose is being fulfilled in the classroom, that they are being seen and heard when we're having these discussions with them and asking, are they okay? And teaching them and ways to deal with bullying and creating a climate that is inclusive, that is welcoming and inviting for our teachers, our employees, for bus drivers, and everybody else. We should feel like a family. And to me, we used to. Bossier Schools is one that I hold to high standards because I'm a product of Bossier Schools. I want our schools to be the best, but that doesn't just happen by saying our schools are the best or posting pictures, videos, or whomever. We have to do the work. We have to put people in these positions who are bold enough and strong enough to do the work, who don't mind having the necessary conversations, who doesn't mind constructive criticism, because that is how we grow and that is how we learn, and who doesn't mind going back to the basics and getting back to the core of really teaching our kids how to sound out. When Caden was in third grade and they said they were no longer doing vocabulary, they were no longer doing spelling words, that was a problem for me. So me and a parent, Tumanello, who was the principal at Sun City, we invited everybody from the curriculum department. I emailed them personally and the superintendent, Scott Smith at the time, and told them, come out and explain to the teachers and the parents what this new tier 1 only material is and why these teachers are having old materials stripped from their classroom and told they can only do tier 1. So it's going to require the people being engaged and involved more so that we can all work together to better help our young people and better help our community, which does nothing but feed and grow our economy.
I couldn't say it any better. As a matter of fact, I can think of somebody's job at the school board that you should take right now. It might involve some pom-poms and cheerleading a little bit, but you would be absolutely wonderful at her job, and she gets paid about $80-something thousand, $90-something thousand a year. But I won't mention any names. All right.
I got one word, secundus.
I don't know, but we have a lot of work to do. And the committees that I've been working on is trying to engage parents more and open our schools. Even at Parkway, the parent meetings that we're having, that was my idea. I think it's important that we get PTO, PTA, whatever you want to call it, back into our schools, because you can take the load off teachers by having parents come in, and then parents can truly see what is going on, because our young people know how to play us too. They do. When there is a divide, and I blame Bossier Schools for that. When Scott Smith said no homework, and we slowly started to push parents out, our students started to see, okay, well, the teachers don't communicate with our parents. Our parents don't know what we're doing anyway. So I can get away with not doing this work. I can get away with misbehaving. I can get away with not studying. We have to get back to the core of quality education, from the home to the school and from the school to the home.
Well, I don't know if Duke, if you've got anything else, but Xander, you're welcome to come on back to the show, whether you win or not. If you do win, don't forget about us. But even if you don't, you're welcome to come back on anytime if you got an issue or there's something in the community or, South Bossier or whatever you want to talk about. Yes. Hey, reach out to us and come on.
I sure will, because I'm consistent in doing this work with a title or not, because our young people need us to. Our teachers need us to. If we want quality educators to stay in the classroom, we have to do what is necessary for them to want to and feel valued to be in the classrooms.
Right. All right. You got anything else on
the
school board, Mr. Lowry?
No, sir. Thank you, Xander, for coming on. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Y'all have a good night.
All right. Good night. Tell Darren I said hello.
I will. Good night.
All right. Good night.
Well, I wish
that was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't. I'm impressed with her. I got to tell you, I am impressed with her. I don't know how anybody who would be listening to her would not give her consideration. Just she made a lot of sense.
Yeah, she did. And like we said, Eric, if you're watching this or watch it later, you're welcome to come on. When is the actual election? Tuesday? Is it Tuesday? Tuesday the 8th or whatever day it is.
Yeah,
anyway, you're welcome. We'll set up a special episode and roll with it if you want to do that. That's fine too, just to be fair and give you plenty of time too. I appreciate Xander jumping into the hot seat.
Well, hey, getting on to these next subjects, do we want to just let's pass on the Cypress District? Let's put it on next show and the updated stuff on all of that, because that is some really big news and some breaking news, and actually probably a little more homework, because we just got that information this afternoon or today, and we put off this stuff with the police jury because this is going to be long in itself.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So you want to put that off until next show too, and do the police jury and the Cypress District?
I don't know. What is everybody watching?
It's fine with me. Honestly, it's 9:30 and I'm about starved.
What about everybody watching? I mean, look, this show's for
what kind of show host am I? It's always about when supper time is.
Yeah, it's about your stomach.
Yeah.
You should be like me and eat during the show and make your wife hate you or something.
Yeah, I could. Look, I love a good bag of chips and pecani sauce too.
So,
be
so
be
what are we
careful what
going to
you
do?
ask for.
What are we going to do next show when
Well,
King
I tell
David
you,
loses it again?
yeah, I say, well, we'll have to add a little bit of that. I kind of teased it out about the police jury and the library. We'll cover it in depth next week because we're already at 2.5 hours or whatever. But let me tease it out again. So what we're going to be talking about is a further literal takeover of the library system by the police jury. According to sources that apparently seem to be in the know, Butch Ford fired the person that was in charge of the library's social media and apparently, I guess, the website and whatever else. And, I mean, they're coming in with a hatchet job and has accused the person in charge of that now, I believe it's Pat Culverhouse, maybe. I think I got the name right. Of deleting commentary. And so we're going to talk some more about that because this person is not the only person we've had tell us about comments being deleted by police jury members and the police jury itself from time to time. So that's not the first time we've heard that. And I would have to remind them that that is kind of a no-no.
Now, Rex, I mean, I'm all good. I mean, and I'm seeing that to be a common thread in the folks watching the show saying, look, just put it off to next week. But what they got to understand, and I think you would understand this as well too, like we got a couple of Moabs in the pipeline coming and we're kind of backing up. So
mother of all bombs.
Yeah, there's some things we potentially may be going to have a 2-show week.
We may do that.
We may be going to have to do that because like I think I shared with you yesterday, I've got 5 gigabytes worth of emails coming to me any day.
Yeah.
Any day from a local governing body that's going to have information in it that is not going to bode well for one local governing body once we purge through it.
Larry James Hawkins says start earlier. So apparently we have to work more, but we are getting paid, or you're getting paid by a coffee mug. The coffee mugs that we promised to our guest last week, Ashley. Coffee mug is on the way. Supposed to be here by FedEx tomorrow. And I ordered a couple of extras, so we'll have a couple of extra coffee mugs. So that's always fun. We at least get to drink coffee or drinks out of a real cool cup.
Okay, so that settles it. Probably next week it'll be 2 shows, Tuesday and Thursday, and the library. We are gonna get the library hatchet job. We are gonna show the meat axe.
Yes.
We're gonna show it.
All right.
And it'll be 2 shows probably next week.
So Ashley and everybody else out there concerned about the library. And look, the fact of the matter is all Bossier Parish residents should be concerned about the library, but we are going to cover it in depth. It will be first thing up, even if King David shows his ass again. We're going to cover the library and the police jury more in depth. So let everybody know to join in, and especially if they have some firsthand commentary. Or, of course, there's always Proton Mail. Go make a free account at protonmail.com. Send an email. Don't put any identifying information in it. Keep it secret. Send us an email to bossierwatch@protonmail.com, and we do look at that and get a lot of information that way, and gives us lots of homework to do. And if you feel like it, go over there. We got the coffee mugs on sale on the website. They're actually live, and you can buy one of those. I'm going to have some other shirts and all that kind of good stuff. You can just donate. There's a donate button if you feel like sending some coffee money. We appreciate Michael Ferris at Pelican Training and Consulting, our good friend David Womack, and, of course, Duke and Kara at Acadiana Mortgage. And yours truly, I'm a tech guy, and I also like to go fishing every now and then. So, with that said, how about we wrap it up, Mr. Lowry?
Have a good evening, folks. We enjoyed it. Thank y'all for watching, and we will see you again next Tuesday night.
All right. See you later.